The WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange is speaking out in public for the first time since taking refuge at Ecuador's embassy in London. Assange confined himself to the balcony and demanded that Washington stop what he called a witch hunt against WikiLeaks.
WikiLeaks released thousands of secret U.S. documents 2 years ago. Authorities in Sweden want to question Assange about accusations he sexually assaulted 2 women. Police in Britain arrested him 2 years ago, and a British court ruled he should be extradited to Sweden. Assange took refuge inside Ecuador's embassy in London in June and applied for asylum. The Ecuadorian government granted his request last week. Assange appeared on the embassy balcony on Sunday to read a statement. He first thanked Ecuador's government and then said freedom of expression is at stake.
If anyone had doubted Julian Assange still has global pulling power, the reminder came today. As he briefly emerged from his self-imposed exile, cheers went up. The ranks of international press sprung into action. He spoke of his hopes of seeing his family, but left us none the wiser as to his immediate plans. Thanking Ecuador for offering him political asylum, he condemned what he called the witch hunt against WikiLeaks by other nations, reserving particular antipathy to the Americans.
Assange might be trapped here because Sweden wants him, but it's the US government he fears. He claims the allegations of sexual assault being made by 2 Swedish women are part of a Washington plot to extradite him to the United States. A grand jury is examining evidence that might link Assange to Private Bradley Manning. The former intelligence analyst is charged with aiding the enemy by passing classified files to WikiLeaks.
I ask President Obama to do the right thing. The United States must renounce its witch hunt against WikiLeaks. The United States must pledge before the world that it will not pursue journalists for shining a light on the secret crimes of the powerful.
Dozens of police surrounded the embassy building where Assange has been holed up for the past 2 months to avoid arrest. The former hacker is wanted in Sweden in connection with allegations of rape and sexual assault, which he denies. He's been locked in a legal battle to avoid extradition to Stockholm. On Thursday, his application for political asylum in Ecuador was approved.
I thank President Correa for the courage he has shown in considering and in granting me political asylum. And I also thank the government, and in particular Foreign Minister Ricardo Patino, who upheld the Ecuadorian constitution and its notion of universal citizenship in their consideration of my asylum. And to the Ecuadorian people for supporting and defending this constitution. And I also have a debt of gratitude to the staff of this embassy, whose families live in London, and who have shown me hospitality and kindness despite the threats we all received.
As Mr. Assange's supporters were making their feelings known outside the Ecuadorian embassy in London, across the Andes there was a similar show of unity. In Ecuador's second city, Guayaquil, foreign ministers from across South America attended a hastily assembled meeting to discuss what Ecuador called the British threat against the integrity of its embassy in London. That was a reference to an obscure law the British government cited to Ecuador, saying it could legally enter the embassy to arrest Mr. Assange. Such language deeply angered Latin American leaders who accused Britain of colonialism.
We express our solidarity and support for the government of Ecuador in the face of threats to violate its diplomatic mission.
Just hours after Julian Assange thanked Latin American leaders for their support, South American foreign ministers meeting in Guayaquil made it abundantly clear that their key concern is not freedom of expression or Assange, rather the sanctity of Ecuador's embassy in London.
This is something that worries us because Great Britain indicated it could violate this principle, and that puts international law in danger. Our aim is to defend international law.
While Assange appeals for freedom of information, countries like Venezuela, Argentina, and Ecuador are accused of trying to restrict it. Ecuador's fiery president, Rafael Correa, has made attacking what he calls the corrupt private media a regular segment of his weekly national address. But in Latin America, where there is a long tradition of granting asylum, the issue is for Great Britain not to set a precedent by using a domestic law to revoke or to threaten to revoke the sanctity of a diplomatic mission, as afforded under the Vienna Convention. Now, Ecuador is digging in its heels and says it is considering taking Great Britain before the International Court of The Hague to try to oblige it to grant safe passage to Assange. As for Britain's request to resume talks to find an amicable solution to the embassy deadlock,
we talked to them for 2 months and their final response was a threat. We hope they withdraw it, but when you're under a threat, you can't sit down and talk.
With no obvious end to the impasse, foreign ministers of all the Americas, including the United States and Canada, will meet Friday in Washington, where the Ecuador Assange affair could well heat up further.